Backstories with my man Jayson Taylor, man. A pleasure and an honor to have you on, dog. Been looking forward to this. One of my favorite people, man. Welcome, man. Welcome.
I'm just happy to be here. I want to give a shout out to my moms for making it possible. Shout out to the whole collective because y'all holding me down and allowing me to represent. So, Tony, thanks for giving me your platform today. I'm super excited.
No, my pleasure, my brother. So, man, we'll get into this thing, man. I love to start the conversation around how you grew up, man, where you're from, and how, that upbringing led you to be the person that you are and kind of influence your ultimate worldview on how you see things, your perspective, and so forth, man. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, the quick answer for where I'm from, I always joke with my family about this. So I say I'm from Richmond, Virginia, by way of Raleigh, North Carolina. So I was born in Raleigh, Wake Medical. Any North Carolina folk know what I'm talking about. Was there until about, I'll say fourth grade, because my parents split. We moved up to Maryland. So I had the opportunity to live in Baltimore City for a couple of years. And then I bounced back down to the South for another 2 years. So, there's a pattern of moving, a lot of up and down. Finally landed in Virginia in about 2005. So I can say, after all the moving in my childhood, Richmond is my home. I'm very proud to call it that. My upbringing, mom and dad were both there. They split when I was younger. In that split, I had the opportunity to move around. I moved around a lot. But in that, the blessing I took from that was I was able to kind of gain additional perspective because both my mom and dad, they met new people after they split. So I had a force of four raising me, and it felt like a pretty supportive backdrop for who I am today. Obviously, things happen, so some things shifted, people made it and people didn't. The basis or the way that I look at the world is through the lens of love. I love life. I love the people around me. I moved around so much that a lot of people who meet me, they're like, yo, this guy, Jayson, he never meets a stranger. And I truly don't. I mean, I've been around so many different walks of life, people, colors, shapes. The one thing I know for certain is we all got a heartbeat. So that's a good place to start when it comes from a relativity front. I try to exude joy like that. That's how I live my life. I feel like I have a purpose to touch one. When I was younger, one of my mentors, he gave me a real important piece that I carry with me. And I don't speak the mission so much, but, he told me a lot of people live their lives for a legacy. I mean, we're men. That's what we do, right? We build a legacy. Some people have it in the things that they acquire, the children that they birth and raise to become these amazing human beings. And then some others look at it as the people they touch. When it's all said and done for me, I want to touch as many people as possible. So even if it's just, you had a down day, I looked you in your eyes, gave you a head nod and you feel better, I did my part. If I can reach my hand in and actually give you some words that'll uplift you, then I did my job. Hey, if there was somebody who bounced back some energy to me and felt good about that and that uplifted that day, I'm all there for that too, because each one reach one. Yeah, so I mean, I could go on and on about my background and like what that means, but ultimately, man, I try to bring the energy, positivity, love, and hope that the world brings me that back tenfold. That's what I'm all about. So,
man, I love that. I think anybody that speaks with you, they can just feel that energy, man. You exude that type of positive energy, that positivity, man, and it's what's needed because there's so much negativity and it's so easy to go into a dark place, particularly considering all the things that have been happening. Every time I talk to you, man, it's all positivity, man. So I appreciate you bringing that every time somebody engages with you, man. I also love the fact, man, that you flip the narrative a lot, man, because oftentimes we hear about the broken home where, parents separated and then it had such a negative effect and people kind of use that as an excuse to paint their childhood in a negative light. And I love that you kind of said, hey, yeah, my parents separated, but I had four instead of two. And They were there, at various points and they were still supportive, man. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I think that's a narrative that we need to hear more often as well.
I appreciate that, Tone. And to be completely honest, it would be remiss of me not to speak to the other parts that had a major part in my life. Like my grandmother, 100 grand, like my uncles, my aunts. It took a village. My mom and dad are great. I love them. Let's keep it 100, man. Babies raising babies. My older brother was had when my mom's was 16. She had me at 19, my sister at 21. And then my youngest sister, years down the line, but you get the point. So it took like a real balance of everybody. So really what enabled me to be able to have that narrative was really people like you and people I've grown to meet that like really just took that time to just sit and had an extra word with me. And it made me this well-rounded person that can see the love in life because so many people have poured it into me. It's really just me bouncing back what I feel like I've received from the universe. So it's more than just them. It's a bigger picture, but definitely a village helped me out.
Word. Good word right there, my brother. Grew up in Richmond by way of Raleigh, by way of Maryland, so a little bit of mid-Atlantic area, man. The DMV. How'd that lead into your education, man? Did you go to college? Where'd you end up going to college? And how was that experience for you?
Well, yeah. So I'm in Virginia, have family down in Georgia. I'm like, oh man, I want to make the big leap to Georgia. So I, went to Meadowbrook High School in Chesterfield, Richmond area. If anybody's familiar, them Brook boys ready. And
Monarch.
Probably in the newspaper back in 2009 if you're looking. But so yeah, I actually applied to schools in Georgia, got into Morehouse. I got into Clark Atlanta, and then reality hit. From that broken home, there was that financial piece, and your boy succumbed to that. So I tried the community college route for a little bit, did that, and I did the tour. I think I did J. Sarge, J. Reynolds, and Piedmont. Like, I was just like aimlessly just wandering because that's what I thought, the world had for me. And I was like, man, this is cool, but I needed to check because life was like hitting me quick. Like, I was out as soon as 18 hit. So between trying to just balance being a man and doing that, I was like, these bills got to get paid. So I actually was working multiple jobs in Richmond. My industry experience has been my biggest form of education. So I started out, my first job was working at Hollister, and I did a retail tour. So I was like really hustling. There was a point where I was at Stony Point Mall, and I was working at the Dick's Sporting Goods, Hollister, and Victoria's Secrets, all in that mall. I was busting out 3 jobs, trying to do the community college route. And I was like, yo, between $7.25 and $9 an hour, I really wasn't hitting on much, but I was stringing it together because I was like, yo, I'm gonna find my way somehow. I had an opportunity to relocate to Charlottesville, and I was like, you know what? I'm stagnant. I'm just working a 9 to 5. I just working all these like part-time gigs. Let me try something different, push myself, because I was already out on my own. Moved up to Charlottesville, got my first full-time position at Best Buy in Best Buy Mobile. So I was the guy in the blue shirt. If you're familiar with Charlottesville, it's like really small. So just doing that gave me a lot of visibility within the city to the point where like people I was working with were like vouchers for me, like, hey, I work at a pretty big company. I think you should try your hand. I'm like, what is this? State Farm. So that's what led me into my first, I'll say, professional, paraprofessional gig as a claims adjuster. So I did that for a couple of years, 2.5 years. And then the place that I work at now, that big schmexy bank, where I'm at now. So I've been there 5 years. So yeah, not any formal education, but when it comes to industry, like I've done things to bolster my personal experience. And I've just been a real self-motivated learner. Yeah. And to kind of tap onto that background, that hunger for like hustle and learning came from like my upbringing, being in the South, being told that, you got to work twice as hard to get half of what they got. You in a world where you basically got to do it with a smile. You got to do it like you're grateful, even when you don't feel that way. So that's just the work ethic I decided to pick up and the style of learning that I decided to take on. And it's got me, to a pretty, I feel decent about where I'm at now.
Don't shortchange yourself, dog. You a part of the collective. So it has done you well.
Yo, believe you me, I'm excited because I was going to jump into some good stuff. This is where I'm excited. I'm a part of the collective. I've been so empowered by you guys. I don't think you understand how much you all have meant to me. Me and my lady sit and talk about it all the time. I'm like, look, I never really went the Amway track, but I have my own circle of good guys, like legit superheroes that I can throw the bat signal. I need some information and somebody comes through. If it ain't in the group chat, you always get that little side text like, yo, what you need? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like
that's what we're here for, man.
So y'all empowered me. August 7th, I take my test so I can get my license to practice real estate. So once I pass that, I'm certified and I'm ready to rock, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah,
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
parallel path that with the corporate, and then entrepreneurship is the way, because y'all made me really realize we can eat, and there's ways for us to eat. So let's do it, So y'all are, thank you. I ain't shortchanging myself. That was all to give you that full story. So for sure,
Oh man,
appreciate
no,
that,
not at
Tom.
all, man. Not
Like,
at all.
night.
Not at all, man. I love your story, man, because your story is one that's so common, man, but not always appreciated. We often think that the road to success is so linear, and you got to go to college, and you got to get the entry level job, and then you got to do this, man. And you've shown that it doesn't have to be conventional, man. And I don't even want to say conventional. I want to say that oftentimes, man, your story is how it actually goes, man. College isn't for everybody. You try it out, doesn't work, but you still try to find your route. And I love that you've always been proactive, man. I remember meeting you for the first time, man. And you were asking questions. You were trying to understand what it took to be successful in corporate America, man. And I just loved it because it was another young brother that I could share to. Because somebody shared the same exact stuff with me. Now I get to pour that into somebody else, man. And as you said earlier, each one teach one, pulling people up, man. And I just felt the obligation at that time to say, let me make sure that he gets off on the right path, man, that I pass along these gems so that he can kind of hit the ground running and ultimately pass it on to somebody else as well, man.
Yes.
So I loved it. I love your story, brother.
Yeah, Tony, I don't even know if you legit were the person to bring me into all of this. Like, you were the first, the inaugural collective member I met. I came in. Now, mind you, we on the campus, you put up in some ACGs, had on this fly windbreaker with that cap on. I was like, he's the guy I need to talk to. Pull me in a room, cool as the other side of the pillow, and was like, I'm feeling your energy. And literally all of these men, great men that we talked to today, man, you put me in connect with that. And it's been life-changing for me, bro. So you the guy. Thank you so much for that.
Oh,
Definitely.
man, it's part of the legacy, man, part of what we do as part of the collective, man. Each one teach one, man. And, as we stay connected, man, I love your passion around everything you do. And one of your biggest passions is music, man.
Yeah.
And I love it as well. I'm not talented as far as putting out music, but I love to listen to it. I'm an 80s baby and a little older than you. So, I grew up in the 90s, man, where I think is like the essential period of hip hop, man. And a lot of the stuff that I've heard from you kind of gives me that feeling, man. So how'd you get into music, man?
It's been a lifelong endeavor. My pops, he did like a lot of singing. Anybody from the Black South knows, where were you at on Sundays? Already. So
yep.
Every Sunday I was in there singing. I was in there for Bible study, usher rehearsal. I mean, I did it all. Got my start singing in church. And an interesting story, you actually made me pull back. I was in the 8th grade. I'm singing in the youth choir, and the men are like, well, he's here every day. Because my grandma took me to church every time she was in that camp. So I was in there. And they're like, well, Jayson, you here? You might as well sing with the men's choir too. Now, mind you, this is like old Black Baptist. So everybody in the men's choir was like 50 and up. A little shaky vibrato with the hoarse voice, you feel me? But showtime nonetheless. 2 weeks in, and they had me singing my first solo. Oh, How I Love Jesus is the first solo I sung. Ever since then, I was like, man, I like being at the front of the crowd. I like rocking the show. With me having young parents, I was heavily gospel influenced because my grandmother kept me in. Where you start, you shall never depart. Also, my peoples was young, so I remember growing up listening to Tupac. My mom loved Brownstone, like, if you love me, say it. Yeah. Like that. I remember her bumping that joint. I remember sitting in my mom's living room. She had this black stereo with this little glass door, and I used to play with the button on that joint, like,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know exactly. So that's how 90s I am. Like, that's what I grew up with, and just remember how good I felt. Even though there were tumultuous times, like, my music was kind of always my savior. So when I wasn't singing between like church, I got into doing talent shows. And I did a talent show up at Hampton. I did, of course, did like my school talent shows and stuff. And just over time, just practice with it. And it hasn't been until more recently that I was like, man, we're all stuck in the house. It's always been something I've always wanted to see. And nowadays, anybody and their mama can release something on the internet just because of the accessibility. But now being able to create my own bangers, I'm dropping an album next year, straight like that.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm here for it, dog. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, man. So speaking of which, man, just heard your track, man. It's going to be the theme music for the collective. Just tell me a little bit about the thought process around creating a song, man, and the inspiration behind it. I love people to hear about it because they're going to hear it. And the backstory always makes a song that much more impactful when they listen to it.
Okay. It's actually pretty neat. I love any type of aesthetics. Of course, when Talon started sending the images, I was like, oh, this is flame emoji. So I saw the images and I'm looking at it and I'm like, if we rolled this out and we had a theme song, yo, that would be too dope. So it's this image in particular. I don't know if you can remember that one, Tony.
Yep.
So that image, I was like, yo, I want to find a song that captures that. Found that instrumental, the pianos and stuff, the keys and whatnot, really made me feel like very celebratory, like popping bottles, like, yo, successes abound. And then just thinking about really what I know all my guys to be. I tried my best to like list out everybody I could between the brands that they represent and the talents that are always on display in the group. I wanted to try to give a shout out or a nod to that. Just lines like, yo, DB, he the activist. Best believe he make it happen. We know DB will turn up at the drop of a dime, like certified. You need somebody to pay attention to the details, call Matt. Well, we know Matt has a detailing company that's super, super solid. Ruben like to work, he Caribbean. And then last but not least, had to get a shout out to TV. Yes, we're Articulate Podcast, live and direct. I'm shutting it down in these streets with the cast. So yeah, it was really just inspired by what you guys show me. And I always love doing something like catchy, jingly. So yeah, just slapped it together, and I'm excited for all the guys to hear it, to kind of see how they feel about it too. I know you appreciate it, so that's big up, because I know you definitely listen to some good stuff.
So speaking of music, man, with all the unrest that has gone on of late, man, you know, Black Lives Matter movement, you know, social injustice, police brutality, man, as a musician, you know, as a lyricist, man, how do you see the role of music kind of playing in the movement, man? How do you see music kind of galvanizing, you know, the people?
I love all music. You can consider me, I guess, a music historian. And one thing that music always does, it always tells the tale of the time. And now, more than ever, it seems like a lot of society now is understanding that the issues that we've been facing forever is long. But I don't think people really recognize how ridiculous is it that we're making songs of the same content in 2020 that people were making back in like the 50s. You know what I mean? Like there are remnants of strange fruit literally still hanging from the poplar tree. And it's 2020. It's ridiculous. So I think it just really shows, one, it can accurately depict what's going on, unfiltered, because you don't have anything other than an expression with that music. So definitely gives us that documentation. And then it's a soundtrack to our fight. I love a good song. Like, yo, when I work out, I need that bump. So you give me something to really feel and motivate me, I think it'll help get people in the mindset. And the last piece that I wanted to is I think it's a good opportunity for us to bridge the gap with those that really aren't in the loop. 50 Cent had a quote forever ago, and I don't know if you really listen to him, but he had a quote that pretty much says, like, a lot of middle class are people that will never have to deal with some of the issues. They look at it through the scope of hip hop. I've seen it in my own life as, you know, I'm in an interracial relationship, so a lot of the family is blended. And I see, that other side, they are picking up and understanding a lot of those issues because of what's coming through these speakers right here. You know what I mean? So I think that having the opportunity to bridge the gap, particularly with a lot of the youth in America, right now will be more than ever. I mean, I feel like we haven't seen hip hop be able to make an impact like this damn near since self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Boom, boom. You know what I mean? BDP type stuff. It could really, really bridge some gaps, give some people some insight, and hopefully convert those who ain't really understanding the message too.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. Every movement, particularly, you know, in the 20th century, man, has had music to accompany it. So, you know, I think it's important, it's key that you have a voice and you can do it musically. Why not lend it to the movement, man? So definitely we're aligned there. I'd be remiss, man, if I got on the call, got on the interview with a fellow hip hop head and didn't ask you for your top five.
All right, so a lot of people probably gonna look at like my top five as like blasphemous. So no disrespect to the greats, right? So I gotta throw Kanye in there because he's a generation. I'm from the South. Andre 3000 has to go in there. Top five.
Cause of my 2 for 2. I give you
my parents. It's nothing against New York. I love New York, but I gotta throw Tupac in there because Tupac is definitely that guy. Nas. I love Nas's content. Growing up, he was the guy that we listened to, not really Jay-Z. All respect to Hov, much love, but Nas is where it's at. And then this last one probably gonna throw you way off. You probably gonna be like, yo, throw his whole list away. But he passed away recently, and he only had 2 projects. But from what I've heard in the young generation, he probably could have been the voice of his generation if he hadn't passed away so early. Juice WRLD, actually. A lot of our artists now, they are like doing what's trendy, obviously getting things that like catch your eye. But yo, he was a monster melodically, really, really understood, in the pocket like none other. And then his lyrical content for it to be so sing-song was very, very witty. From a young dude, he's like the most impressive young dude that I've heard out in a long time. So, I mean, if you haven't given him a shot, Tone, I know a lot of people ain't for the young guys. I would say, man, give him a shot. In particular, that album that he had, Death Race for Love, just give it one listen front to back. Take all the bias out. I promise you be like, yo, Jay, that album, bump, solid. Best album I've heard from one of these young cats in like ages. R.I.P.
Well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt just because the rest of your list, I definitely quality artists. I'm not as familiar with Juice WRLD, but I've heard things, and from what I hear, man, he's one of the good ones, man. I think it's so easy, and what I try not to do as an older head now, I ain't gonna call myself an old head, but I'm, getting close to the 4-0. I think it's easy for us to kind of paint everybody in the same picture, as far as the new artists, but there's quality artists out there, man, and we can't be so dismissive of the new voices that have come into hip hop, man. So I'm gonna check them out, man. Just because you vouch for them, that says a lot, man. So quality list, man. You had Andre 3 Stacks on there, Nas. No. I can definitely get with that.
I gotta get yours though.
My top 5, man. I'm a Hov guy, man. Yeah.
I seen it in your face. I seen it in your face.
I thought I was a member of Rockefeller from about 99 to 2004, man. Like I swear I was a member of Rockefeller, man. So Hov, I say Andre 3000 in my top 5. Nas, I put in there. I got 2 spots left. I love Big. I love B.I.G., man. I'm a big Mos Def fan too, man. Big Black Thought fan as well, man. So I got to throw them cats in there too, man. Like I can talk forever about hip hop, man. Like the late 90s, early 2000s, man. I loved Hov, but I was on my backpacking too. Give me Mos Def, give me Talib, The Roots, Common, all them cats, man. I love that stuff, man. Love that stuff. Even if you go back further, you go back further into the 90s, man. Like Black Moon and OGC and them cats, man. Like I love that boom bap. Yeah, you
got a solid. Yo, list is solid. Too solid.
Definitely,
you threw me out. Yo, you threw me off there most definitely because I honestly, you're probably one of like no people I've ever heard say that, and that's how I know you really got your ears to the floor because you have to consume a lot. Because I feel like the more like hip hop people consume, you can tell how big there is. And when they throw in that one random, I'm like, oh, you listen to it all, like all of it. Yeah, that's tight,
man. Definitely, man. I'm a hip hop head, man. Listen to probably way more music than my wife would like, but hey,
man, I'm
quarantine, man.
I'm gonna have to shoot you some more of these songs so I can get some more feedback because I got a little EP hitting over here and I ain't let nobody hear it yet.
Bro. Do that, man.
All right.
For sure, man. So I want to be cognizant of time, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. Try to end this thing, man. But definitely want to end it with both of us being a part of the collective, man. I just would love to hear how you see yourself using the collective platform to kind of go out and achieve what you want. and what you want to see the collective platform actually do for the world, man.
Oh my gosh. The way I see it in my head, the way it could take off, I'm already seeing like, I'm envisioning like TV talk shows and like TV panels and like something like The Talking Dead. But like what it means for me is I don't know, man. I feel like a badge of honor, to be honest. Like working with all you guys and like making all of our goals, hopes, and dreams so public, it allows me to like on the biggest scale hold myself accountable, right? I want to be a superhero so this can live on forever. And I think that what it's meant for me is like outstanding. Like I wear this like proud. I'll be like, yeah, baby, I'm a part of the collective. What you mean? Like, you feel me? But like what I hope it does in the grander scheme of things is it gives hope. And it continues to do, like, I mean, we were discussing, I think, an article today where LeBron James was able to, really put his hand into some big media money. And I think that controlling the narrative is a big part of it. And this allows us to control the narrative in the biggest way. I'm looking at this almost like those renaissances that you see in different cities. If you look back to New York, you had, the New Jack Swing movement where they was jumping. It was just like a group of people where it was popping. You look at Atlanta, then you got the whole Dungeon family. In my head, the way I see it is we are legitimately talented enough. In my head, I have like a slogan. I haven't really used it with nobody, but I'm feeling like Richmond could be the new Atlanta, right? We starting it with like a group of like strong men that could build out this universe and like create the world in the collective and out it to be whatever we want. It means a lot to me because, I'm pushing. So that way, wherever I go, I'm going to slap, this is collective out here backing it. So that way it makes it push, And I want people to be like, oh man, yeah, the collective is jumping in Richmond.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Yeah. I want the collective. I want to hear people out here talking like the collective, like people was talking about Dipset in 04. So I think that we can like really, really push something big. And it's like an idea that can really take off. And this is the groundwork. So I'm hoping the collective it turns into a mindset like, you got to move like the collective. You ain't grinding if you ain't getting it like the collective. Just really start attaching that energy to it so it can really like just push and live on past us, so forth and so on. I wanted to make waves and like we got the right people to do it. So I'm excited.
Yes, sir, man. But that's a good way to wrap things up, man. I've enjoyed this, man. You just bring so much energy to the table, man. It's great because I think people want to hear your story and they're going to relate to it, man. So, brother, keep doing what you're doing, man. We stay connected anyway. Just appreciate you sharing your story, the willingness to share it and be transparent and be open and be honest about, how you got where you are and where you want to go, man. So, again, appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. And, thank you for having me. And like we said, we're going to talk after this anyway. So I'll holler at you later, bro. One more time for the collective. Yes, sir.
All right, man. All right, my brother. Peace out.
Some top-notch fellas, let me call up the collective, yeah.